Many of you who are watching this know of basketball legend Carlos Strong as an All-American, a Georgia Bulldog, a former NBA player, a coach, and a proud alum of Cedar Shoals High School. The purpose of this documentary is to shed light on a powerful story of a man blessed with a tremendous gift and how he continues to pay it forward in the great game of basketball. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Strong, a journey above the rim. On October 17, 1972, Carlos Strong was born. His development as a child growing up in Athens, Georgia was thanks in large part to his mother, Linda Colbert.
I had a hard-working mother that gave me and my brother the things we needed and a lot of the things we wanted. I had my uncles that made sure that we had what we needed and wanted, and my grandfather.
He was well-mannered, I guess a typical child, but I didn't have a lot of trouble in him, you know, growing up. Yeah.
Strong's career in basketball began at the age of 7, attending numerous camps and practices to hone his basketball skills. And at the age of 9, the game became a passion for him.
He was tall, so he just started taking him to practice, and it was over there, I believe off of Hamm, East Athens. I can't remember the name of the street, but he was over there, and I would take him to practice after that, and he had wanted to play baseball, so he had 2 sports, 2 kids, 2 sports. I couldn't do it all, so he played basketball and baseball.
I think the fact that I was tall, really good at it early, and I gravitated to it. I really loved baseball. I tried football 1 year, and it wasn't for me. I just didn't gravitate to football. But
for a while, he had to learn how to, with him being so tall, he had to learn how to control the height with them playing. He was the tallest one on the team, so he was a little timid because he was so tall. But all that came with practice and playing.
Basketball just, it came natural somewhat, and it really became a passion. You know what I mean? So that's what I practiced more. So even during baseball season, I still would play a lot of basketball at my grandmother's house or at the gyms and things like that. Well, it wasn't gyms, it was at Bishop Park and stuff like that, yes.
When Strong came to Cedar Shoals, unlike many who aspired to work their way up to varsity, Strong had already began the process in middle school.
When I was in the 7th, I told Coach Scott I was in the 8th. So I played JV. He thought I was going to be a 9th grader when I really was going to be an 8th grader. So I went over to Georgia camp that year as a 7th grader and started every game with the varsity. But I had another year in middle school. So I would walk over here from Patty Hisman every day and practice with the JV and varsity. So coming in, I really knew the system. I had great guys on the team. Terrence Fleming, Marvin Nash, Terry Jones, Philandris Fleming, Keith Dunn, that really took me under their wing and treated me well here. And I really became comfortable.
I didn't know he was in the 7th grade. He was that good when he was in 7th grade. We thought he was in the 8th. He played on our JV because, as he told me later, you know, we spent a lot of time together. Now he said, Coach, I didn't want to play on the 8th grade team. And back in those days, we didn't have middle school teams. We had what was called a C team, and it was Hillsman was here, and we'd get kids that went to that were shared by the other side of town, and then of course Coyle came a little bit later. So Those were the first 2 years, so that meant he got to practice in the gym with the varsity every day as a 7th and 8th grader. And then for the next 4 years, as a starter on the basketball team here at Cedar Shoals.
While for many, playing basketball was a hobby or an extracurricular to add on their resume, Carlos knew he wanted to take his talent to the next level and acted on it throughout his high school career. He knew he could do better.
Every summer, I was camps, clinics, travel ball, during the off season when, just playing. I was working and didn't really realize that I was working because I just loved to play the game. I think I didn't talk about basketball a lot. I didn't talk about my accolades. I didn't talk about none of that stuff in high school. I didn't brag about it or anything like that because I knew I always wanted to go further, and it was natural for me.
Well, you knew he was going to be a good player. And basketball players, sometimes as coaches, I think we want to look at that kid. We love those kids who are long and lanky. And he was that. The other thing about him, you knew he loved basketball. I mean, before he ever got to Cedar Shoals, you'd see him dribbling the basketball up and down Cedar Shoals Drive.
As talented a player Strong knew he was, he also accepted the fact that his freshman year, he had to wait his turn.
Well, my first year, I was sort of a role player. I could score the basketball, but wasn't no plays really ran for me. Everything was ran through Marvin, which should have been, clearly. I mean, he was a great player. And we had guys that could shoot the basketball. Guards was Terrence Fleming. So I was more of a role player. I just sort of filled in, I rebounded, I finished on the break, dunks and things like that. But it wasn't my team, and I just sort of, I respected those guys so much. I didn't think it was my team. I didn't try to make it my team. I got in where I fit in and was just honored to be on the court as a freshman with those guys. My sophomore year, it was really, Coach Scott really ran a ton of stuff through me. By my junior year, it was really mine, where I touched the ball offensively pretty much every time down the court or every other time down the court.
As the years progressed and his skills progressed as well, I mean, he was one of those kids, his junior year, I think it was, he was probably being recruited by everybody in the country.
My senior year, that Terrell had emerged as a great player. So we sort of did a tag team, but I really think that I was the leader of the squad just because I had been playing on that team for so long. I knew the offenses, and they relied on me heavily for scoring, rebounding, and such.
Easily getting probably, 24 and 10 a night, easy. So, and he probably dunked 3 or 4 times a night. Shot a couple threes, I remember making them. Pretty decent free throw shooter. Had good moves. Yeah, he had an all-around offensive game. I mean, he could handle the ball too. But with all guards, he didn't have to handle it. You play hard on defense, push everybody to Terrell. Terrell 6'11". He blocking it, we catching it, everybody running the floor, and we looking for Carlos.
He's got 17 points on the afternoon. Nice pass and dunk to Carlos Strong.
That nightly basis. That's what we did. I actually don't remember playing a close game. The regular season, we didn't lose a game. We went to a national ranked tournament in Arkansas where we played, like, a couple NBA guys played in that tournament and we was playing against them. And we lost 1 game out there. And I think that's because we flew out there and an hour later we had to play. We young, we don't know. Coach Scott telling us, like, the reason we lost, jet lag. I'm like, we don't know what jet lag is when you're young. But yeah, we lost that game by maybe 5. And we won the rest of them, and we had to fly back. Then the next day we played another game. And I think we won up by like 10. That was probably our closest game. It was just one of them times like Cedar was feared, and when we played, packed house. So I always remember that experience, and I think there was so many great teams. There's no way you can say like we was one of the better teams, but I think we was because we was ranked in the nation. We was #1 the whole year. We got upset in the region tournament. That's why we didn't win it.
We were dominant as far as just winning games, but as far as winning championships and stuff like that, we underachieved, I think. And it wasn't because of anything that we did wrong. It was just the way the chips fell every time, man. Like every year it was something that detoured us. Something that got it, like somebody was ineligible or something happened or this or that or whatever. So it was always kind of bad luck, I would say.
Strong had gathered many accolades throughout his time at Cedar Shoals, ranging from being ranked 3rd in the nation to playing in numerous all-star games such as the KFC and North and South games. But his most notable accomplishment during high school would come in the form of both the McDonald's All-American game and the dunk contest.
I value it more now than I did then because I felt like I had so much basketball left. It was just a notch in where I was trying to get. I knew all the guys from every year from my freshman year, well, really my 8th grade year to my senior year, my junior year. I played in Washington, D.C., where my family is from. Half of my family is there in the Urbo. And then that's where it's a big league, it's a summer league where all the guys come and play. NBA guys, college guys, high school guys. So all the guys that I played with in the McDonald's All-American game, I had played with them before in some camp, Nike ABCD camp or somewhere. So I was comfortable with it, and when I got the call, I was happy, and I felt like I should have been on that team. But I remember Coach Scott saying that we're waiting on that call. We're just waiting on that. That's the big one. We're waiting on it. We're waiting on it. And he called me in the office, and he showed me the letter where I was invited, and I was happy. But I knew that I still wanted more.
Well, you got to understand that's a process. We were fortunate enough over my tenure to have 6 kids nominated for it. He was the only one to make it. That means you're one of the best 24 kids in the country. Pretty impressive. You know, he was the Gatorade Player of the Year. He was the Northeast Georgia Player of the Year. His senior year, you name it, he was it. Again, for me as a coach, I mean, you take great pride in that, you know, and you play a small piece in that development. It's pretty special.
Oh man, they treated us so well. We was there a week, and you know, we went to the Ronald McDonald House with the kids. We had so many interviews, press conferences, and things like that. I felt like, you know, I got a taste of what it was going to be like at the next level, which was at UGA. It was a great week. I mean, it was a great week just to be with all the guys, to get that recognition as one of the top 20 high school players in the country. It was amazing. It was an amazing week. And then the game came around. I think I finished with 19 points or something like that. I had a great game. Played well. I think I was 7 for 10 or something like that from the field. I think I had 9 rebounds. So it was a great game for me, but it was natural. It just came natural to me. And all throughout my career, and when I went to camps, the better the talent was there, the better I played. Like, so I always sort of rose to the top. If I'm playing with the top ABCD Nike camp, I'm playing with the top 40 guys in the country. I was one of the top 5, and it was natural. You know, I didn't put a lot of thought into it. I just went out there and enjoyed the game and played.
22, Carlos Strong. At forward, number 3.
Simpkins, nice pass to Strong. And the East continues to come in.
Excellent pass for the layup there. Strong cutting inside. Reverse layup, excellent play.
Reaches the point that he's left to shoot. Bad by Lloyd. Follow up by Strong.
Again, Roderick just not getting it done offensively, but he's got a good looking shot. It's going to be a real factor.
This is Tony Duff, the young man you heard Billy mention, scored 70 points in a high school game. Strong with a strong move. Carlos Strong headed for the University of Georgia.
We're going to see Strong taking the ball right to the basket, giving up his body and making sure he kept picking up an outstanding point guard leader.
Michael Lloyd with the ball again. He's got 17 points on the afternoon. Nice pass and dunk to Carlos Strong. And coming back in for the West All-Stars, Jason Kidd.
For the dunk contest in particular, Strong had headed into the competition with no prior experience in such a display.
You know, it's crazy, but I didn't get in a lot of dunk contests. And that's the crazy thing. Some of the guys, we were just talking, like Jason Kidd, still talk to him every now and then, but we were just talking trash about the game and about the dunk contest, and I was like, I'm gonna get in it, because I always was a leaper. I didn't have a lot of creativity. I could just fly, because I never really practiced it. But when I got in it, it was just natural.
Thursday night, Carlos Strong, 6'8" from nearby Athens, Georgia, soaring over 6 people with a mammoth slam to win the slam dunk competition. Carlos Strong is headed for the University of Georgia.
The dunk I did to win it, I never did it before. You know what I mean? So it was a first-time thing. I knew I could clear them, but I had never practiced. It wasn't like I practiced the week before on all the dunks I was going to do. Nah, I didn't practice at all.
I remember it was right there. I can't remember how this gym looked, but it was something. It was something. I never expected that. Yeah.
The whole day, they shut the gym down. They shut the old weight room, you know, under the football stadium, the old weight room. They shut that down. I mean, I don't know if you remember the old building, but the old building, you know, it had the walkway to the old building, and you couldn't even come this way. Because Dominique Wilkins was here, and he had all the players, all the other celebrities. They shined the backboard. It was crazy, but it was awesome because everybody knew it was going to be on ESPN. And then, like you said, to see your teammate win it, awesome. I enjoyed it, and I was making sure I was like sitting behind the players because the players were sitting over here. I was like right here trying to get on camera, leaning and making sure they saw me, waving. You know how it goes.
It was like an out-of-body experience. I remember standing right up there looking at Carlos jump over everybody. You know, it was crazy because of the fact that not only it was a McDonald All-American game, but it was here at our school, you know. And, you know, it was just, you know, to get to see all the guys that we were ranked with and get to see them come here in our little town in Athens, Georgia, you know, and that's such a big, huge nationwide event, you know, and to see all these people come here and then, you know, not just the participants in the game, it was also the people involved in, you know, putting it together. And then, you know, you had judges like Dominique Wilkins. He was one of the judges of the dunk contest, you know, and I remember him flying in on a helicopter, landing on the football field, you know, and walking in here, you know, being a judge, you know, and just all of that stuff it sticks in my mind. I never forget it.
He jumped over 5 kids to dunk it, you know, and he staggered them and he dunked on that goal right there over 5 people. You know, and all I was thinking was when he got to that dunk was because the other kid had already missed one. You know, that was his 3rd dunk. I said, just make it. You know, but he, just typical Carlos, he put a little flair on it, and I can still see him running through those stands, high-fiving us when he made it. Again, it's a great feeling. You're a part of that as a coach. You know, it might be a small part because it's his talent.
Strong had many talented teammates throughout his basketball career, but by far the most invaluable was Terrell Bell.
We were tight. We still are. We just looked out for each other. On the court, off the court, we spent time together.
Well, they were close. They did get close as they got playing more and more with each other. And they were close. Yeah, they would visit, you know, each other, come to each other's house, my house, his mother's and father's house.
They were like brothers, you know, and Carlos kind of recruited Terrell to basketball. Again, Terrell, I think, was in middle school. He was 6'3", but Carlos was the basketball player. We had to kind of bring Terrell along. But wherever Carlos went, whatever Carlos did, Terrell did it. And they ended up on the same, you know, AAU team. Like I said, we had to take them over at first to do that. But they were, and they're still close. They're still close. I mean, Carlos takes care of all of his former teammates, you know, with all this basketball training and stuff that he does. You know, if somebody wants to help with basketball, he allows them to come and work and help with them. He even lets me do it, you know, and makes me feel good as an old man.
We actually met in elementary school. I was coming over from another elementary school. I transferred from one to another, and that's where we met because we were both the 2 tall guys. So I think we kind of saw each other and was like, wow, he's like me, you know. He's odd like me because we were oddly taller than the other kids. So that's when we first met. Elementary school, 4th grade, Winterville Elementary School. And went to middle school for like a year. He left, went to Hillsman. I stayed at Bernie Harris, and we reconnected back at Cedar Shoals. That's when we reconnected 9th grade and started back playing basketball together. By my sophomore year, that's when I had kind of figured it out and started getting some notoriety and started coming into my own. And that's when we just instantly clicked. Once we did start playing together, it wasn't a problem. We just blended in together well, you know. And I think it had a lot to do with our coach. That's the way he taught us, you know, team chemistry. You know, it was all about the team. And so he showed us basically how to work together. You know, one would go high, one would go low, and vice versa. And I mean, it just worked out.
It was just a natural fit. I think it was a natural fit because Terrell was a great player in his own right, but he allowed me to do my thing, and I allowed him to do his thing. You know what I mean? It wasn't no animosity. Like, if he got down, he got down. If I got down, I got down. We wasn't mad at each other, and that's what I think kept us tight. We wanted each other to be great. We wanted each other to succeed. Even in travel ball, when we played on the same teams, every year it's like we want each other to be good. It was like iron sharpening iron. And so he was a great shot blocker, great rebounder. He could score the ball in the inside. Took care of the middle. I ran the floor, he ran the floor. We both scored buckets. So, I mean, I would probably say, and he would probably say too, that when I drove, or he was the first option that I looked for. Okay. You know what I mean? It wasn't like I was looking for, because I knew what he was going to do with it. If I give him the ball in a good position, he's going to finish. 10 out of 10 times, he's going to dunk the basketball. So I think that in itself made us tighter. You know what I mean? Because when I drove, I drew a lot of attention. I was always looking for him. So I think we became tight.
Following their high school careers, both Carlos and Terrell wanted to continue as a dynamic duo by attending college together at the University of Georgia.
I told them, he and some of the other kids who were being recruited, you know, at the end of the day, it's going to be your decision. I'm going to support whatever decision you make. We sit here in this gym, and I can remember the summer, Rick Pitino, John Chaney, all of the big coaches, big name coaches, were sitting right there in this gym in the summertime. It's 90 degrees outside. That means 100 in here, and they're all recruiting him. And again, I just told them that whatever decision you make is not going to be a bad decision. I will be there to support that.
Well, we had talked about it, and I think Terrell was looking at Kentucky. I think that was his thing. Kentucky or Georgia, I think he narrowed it down to. And I had visited UNLV, Georgia Tech, and I hadn't visited Kentucky. And we talked, and we met with Coach Durham together, talked about it, playing together, and you know, we just thought it'd be really cool. But I didn't know, because I signed early, and I didn't know he was going to sign. But when he decided that he was going to come to Georgia, we talked about it again, and I was ecstatic about it. I was like, okay, we're going to get 4 more years together. That's sort of unheard of, you know, where the guys play 4 years of high school together and play 4 years of college together. So we went on that journey together, and it was great. It was great. I really thank God that I got to spend 8 years with a close friend of mine, because playing basketball so long, you get on teams where you don't have any connections, and you don't have anybody that you can lean on when a game is bad, or you can lean on when a game was good. And we even played on a couple professional teams together, which was farm league teams. So it was great to be able to lean on him, and I think we balanced each other out a little bit. I was more of an outspoken, I'm not gonna say wild, but more of an outspoken guy. I was a little more flashy. Terrell was laid back. So we sort of balanced each other out.
There was a lot of pros and cons with it. I was hearing people say one thing on this side and one thing on this side. Some people saying you need to get away and get the experience, you know, being away. But then, you know, you also had the idea of who gets the opportunity to play for a college in the same town that they're from. Like, how odd is that, you know? So a lot of people don't even live in a town with a Division I school. So the fact that I had all of that rolled up in one place, you know, it was like a unique situation. So I'm like, you know what? You know, we could build our own legacy. You know, being from here, going to that school and, you know, doing great things, you know, that could be something great. It was very close with me, because I was this close to going to Kentucky. Kentucky is the school that that came down to the decision between them and Georgia, and it was like a last minute decision. It was very close, very close. It came down to the last minute. But at the end, the black and red, I mean, it overtook everything. I had to do a lot of thinking. You know, I thought about, you know, being able to stay home, being able to play in front of my family getting to see me play. You know, and you know, a lot of guys go away to school, and their families really can't see them play a lot because they can't travel and see it. So I thought about all those advantages, man, and just, you know, thought that would be a good idea. You know, and then to be able to play with your high school teammate as well, you know, with all of that other stuff said, I mean, it was just a bonus, you know what I'm saying? So after I thought about that, and then, you know, we had been playing together with some of the other guys that came to Georgia too with us, you know, on our AAU team. So it was just a thing that we realized that, you know, we could do some good things and we could create a legacy, which we did. You know, we ended up creating our own legacy, you know, at UGA.
In the switch from high school to collegiate ball, Strong noticed a difference in the styles of play and the systems that his coaches instilled.
It was the talent that I was going against, that wasn't an issue. It was the style of basketball Coach Durham instilled in what he wanted to do. We were used to running, playing free basketball, and he sort of put us in a box where we did certain things, and you know, I had to play with my back to the basket, where I was you know, Coach Scott gave me the freedom to do everything. So that was totally the toughest part I had to deal with. Now, the crazy thing is, and I tell my boys this now, that I coach travel ball and things like that. I love the game so much. I made sure I didn't get in trouble. I didn't do anything that would take the game away from me. So for 8 years straight, I started every game. I started every game from my freshman year to my senior year at Cedar Shoals, and then I went over to Georgia and started every single game of my career. So I never came off the bench. So all freshman team. So the talent wasn't. I felt like I averaged 12 or 13 my freshman year, and if I'd have been let go, I feel like I could have averaged 20. I really do. But because of the style of play that he played, I was taught to play in a system. Coach Scott, that's one of the biggest things that really helped me when I went to camps, when I went to different teams, playing with, I was able to fit in any system because Coach Scott taught me the fundamentals, and we always ran a system. So I was able to fit into the system, but I don't think the players that we were in there with did our game any justice, because we signed, I think we had a number 3 recruiting class or 4 recruit class in the country. So that G-Day game where we played against in a squad scrimmage, we beat those guys 20 points. But he still split us up, and I was the only one out that thing, out of our 5 that started right away, and then Shandon worked his way into the lineup. So I think it was just getting used to the guys and the system that Coach Durham played.
Here's the way he describes it. And if he didn't describe it this way when you talk to him, you know, he says, I was ready to play as soon as I got there. And he gives me that credit. I don't really deserve it. But for 4 years, he was a 4-year starter at UGA. Now, you got to understand, Georgia had Coach Hugh Durham, you know, legendary coach there. They had Tubby Smith there. They certainly didn't need me over there, so I stayed out of the way. You know, I would go over and just watch them play, and that was my role once they got there.
In Carlos Strong's senior year at UGA, they reached the NCAA tournament Sweet 16. To Carlos, this was down to a switch in head coach and a switch in the team's style of play.
It was amazing. It was our senior year, and Tubby Smith came in, which was a breath of fresh air. He just changed everything. Changed the way we did things before games. He changed the practices. It was just more enjoyable. He let us play. He let us go. He had a group of seniors that he let talent take over, and I think that was one of the smartest things that he could have did for us. And one of the best things he could have did for us is just let us play. He didn't try to mold us into what he wanted. He let us play how we played, and he just instilled his coaching strategies, his defense, and he was a player's coach. Like, he got the most out of you. Like, whatever you had, he was gonna get it out you. And that's what I loved about him. So that experience was great, to just live that our senior year, all the hard work you put in, and to go that far in the Sweet 16 and lose by a half-court shot. It hurt, but it was satisfying knowing that we had accomplished something before we left UGA.
He's got to put the ball in the basket. Strong into the painted area. Ball back up, so the defense has to move out of that space. Strong. The team on the glass. Nice move by Carlos Strong down on the block. He calls that his office. He wants to get the ball here.
Shot clock again. A factor. Smith puts it up. Strong the follow.
College basketball for all of us.
Strong off the feed from in by Harrison. Quick outlet to Strong. Turning a senior leader. Those freshmen really stepped up to the table.
When it came time to enter the NBA, Carlos Strong decided to forego the draft and sign with the Charlotte Hornets. However, the circumstances surrounding this decision were not as they seemed.
I was going to be drafted third from last, and it was, I actually, and I can say this, during the Phoenix camp, the Phoenix pre-draft camp, I was all tournament team, all camp team, all right? I go to Chicago, sprain my ankle, and still try to play and had not terrible, but what my work. So I fell, and I was going to get picked up. I think it was Seattle. I can't remember the team. I think it was Seattle. And I wanted to get, me and my agent went back and forth for probably 30 minutes because I wanted my name called. And he assured me that he had spoken to Charlotte. They didn't have any more picks. They wanted to sign me, 1 year guaranteed, 2-year deal. And I was like, but I can make this team. So after we discussed it all, we decided that, okay. So I didn't get drafted. He spoke because he had a great relationship with all the teams. Mark Barterstein and Associates out of Chicago, and had tons of players there and still have tons of players in the league. And we just decided I'll roll the dice and I'll go ahead and go to Charlotte. So as soon as the draft was over, I was faxed the contract. I signed the contract, but it took that away from me, something that I dreamed of all my life, of my name being called. Well, I had to understand that team, Seattle, had 4 guys in the same position as me, 3 of them guaranteed. So my chances of making that team would be slim, just because of guaranteed money and things like that. So it worked out well. I went into Charlotte, and I had a great preseason, a really great preseason. And one day at practice, I went up for a shot or layup or something, came down awkwardly, and that night my back started throbbing. And because I've had a back surgery prior, it felt the same. And then my legs started to go numb, so I knew it was somewhat of the same type issue. So I went into surgery, like the 3rd game of the season, I went into surgery. And I got out of surgery and rehab for the rest of the year, traveled with the team, and I was a part of the team, but I just didn't get that experience that I wanted on the court.
Strong's NBA career was not all sunshines and rainbows like many aspiring players would think. After a successful preseason with the Dallas Mavericks, he broke his wrist in 4 places. He was out again for the entire season. After receiving an offer from an Italian basketball team, Carlos decided to take his chances and move abroad.
When I got there, it was tough. It was one of the hardest experiences I've ever had in my life because I felt like I deserved to be in the NBA. But when I got adjusted to it and started to embrace the culture, I loved it. I loved it. And it was easier on my body, and I think that's what sold me and my agent sold me was, you got 1, maybe 2 games a week where it's not as rough on your body. It's 9 months, but a month and a half is preseason. The rest of it's easy, easy work.
Strong played in many countries during his spell abroad, ranging from Italy and France to the Philippines and Argentina. Each country's basketball league and culture were various, and Carlos's experience in each were unique.
It was great. Man, I fell in love with, Italy was great. France was way too slow for me. I mean, everything was like at dark, everything was just shut down in the town. I was in Dijon, France, and nothing was happening. So I toughed it out 8 months, but it was just horrible. Just the basketball was okay, but everything was just dull. And I got a call from Argentina club Boca, and great money at the time. It was like 25 grand a month. It's an 8-month season, and I went over there, and I was in Buenos Aires, and I loved it. I was right in the middle of the city, in a high rise, and I loved it there. So I ended up going back there 3 years straight, and I loved it. So that's where I fell in love with. That was probably the best experience, just because the soccer players was cool, the teammates were cool, and then they had 8 or 9 teams in Buenos Aires. So that means I had 2 more Americans per team that me and my American friend Victor Thomas could hang out with. So it was like it was a family more so, because you had people from the States, where in France and Italy, in your city, it's only 2 Americans on the team. So you don't see the other guys until you play them. You go there, they come to you. So this was more my speed, and I fell in love with Argentina. That's by far the best place I think I played.
As his time playing professionally drew to a close, Carlos Strong came back to the States to make what many consider the best decision he's ever made when it came to the game of basketball: coaching.
I wanted to be involved in the game some type of way. And I felt like the game had been so good to me and my family, and showed me so much of the world and experiences. I felt like I wanted to give it back. I wanted to give something back. I owed it to the game to give something back.
You know, a lot of the players, they came to me one day and they said, Coach, do you realize you have somewhere between 17 and 20 former players that are trying to coach at some level, whether it's travel basketball or whether it's high school basketball or even at the assistant level at the college level. So again, you don't realize as a teacher and as a coach that you have certain impacts on kids. You know, I never thought about that, you know. And when they tell you it's because of you, you know, when a cheerleader calls you and says, you know, I became a PE teacher because of you, or another student, you know, like I said, those guys, Carlos and all of them, you know, Coach, it's because of you. And they call me, and again, I don't know what I bring to the table now, but they call me and ask for my advice. They call me and ask for help. He even gives me an opportunity to come out and speak to his campers, you know, and share a little something with them. So it's an honor. It's a privilege. I probably don't deserve it.
The typical response to such a high-profile figure and his pitch to give back to the community would be an astounding yes. But unfortunately, this was not the case for Carlos Strong.
I did a camp in Oconee, free camp, and I got to tell the story how I ended up in Oconee. Okay, I approached, and I'm not going to say names or anything, but I approached 4 different venues, community centers, places in Athens that I spent my summer camps. About, hey, I want to do camps. I want to give back. The camps are going to be free for the kids. I'll raise the money. I just want to do some things. And no one allowed me to do it. Everybody shot me down.
No one in Athens allowed you to host any summer camps?
No one. And I mean, I went to every facility, hear me now, every facility here, every community center, everyone you could think of, I went. I reached out. I called. I went by. Everybody shot me down. I made one phone call to Oconee, Parks and Rec, Tony Lathrop. He said, let's meet tomorrow. So we met the next day. Their program was coming out to send out an email blast. He said, we're going to add you to it and we're going to let you do a camp. Just that simple. From that point on, there's no looking back. So I owe a lot of big thanks, and I want to shout Oconee Parks and Rec out, because until this day, they're good to me. And it's crazy that I couldn't get that same love right here in Athens with people I grew up with in the positions at these places to allow me to do camps would not have anything to do with it.
Along with his coaching duties, Strong started a nonprofit organization during the COVID-19 pandemic.
I started the foundation about 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, because I was coaching, and speaking on coaching, it was like I got a coaching job, and I built a program, I think, out of the dumps to where I invested in kids from the area. And out of my whole life, I had never experienced, and I'm not gonna say where, but I had never experienced racism until I started coaching at this one place. And it wasn't blatant racism, it was underhand racism. And what I mean when I say that is, they did everything in their power to hold me and the kids that I recruited back. And was I perfect? No, I was perfect for the program. Did parents all agree with everything I did? No, because parents want the best for their kids, but I want the best for the program. And I sacrificed about 5 years of my life to build something, and to where I realized that they don't respect what I do, and they don't want me here. About my 3rd year in, that's when I said, I want to do this foundation, because I want to get out of this and do this foundation, because I got some really big stuff on the horizons. I partnered with some really big sponsors that we're going to do some really big things, some huge things for the sport of basketball, not necessarily for here, but for the state. And that's why I did it, because I felt like that where I'm at, I don't want to be. And I'm going to start my foundation, because I finished my degree this summer, and I felt like I want to sit on a college bench, and I can still run my foundation if I sit on a college bench. You know what I mean? So that's how the foundation got started. And what it is the Carlos Strong Foundation, and what we do is we raise money for kids, because the gang violence in this area is absolutely unbelievable. So we raise money for kids that could come to my camps and things that would not be able to afford it, to get them rides, to do Christmas things. And see, I'm like this. You're not gonna see me, and my assistant gets on me all the time, because they feel like that I should express more, or advertise more, or show more what I do on the Facebooks, and I don't do it for that. So you're never gonna see me out giving away book bags, but that don't mean I don't give away book bags. You're never gonna see me take phone calls where people need help, and I'm there, whether it's shoes, whether it's to pay a bill, or whether, and a lot of this I was doing out of my pocket before the foundation, because I'm not gonna talk about it. I'm not gonna go, that's not why I do it, you know, and I just don't see the need for that. Like, if you need my help, should be able to talk to you like I've been helped before, and it not be publicized. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to get credit for, I'll get my blessings for that. You know what I mean? I'll get my blessings for that. So a lot of things I do, it's not out to the public to see. And I don't advertise pretty much my business, my Strong Basketball. It's word of mouth, email blast. I tried to do a Facebook one time. It just don't sit right with me, because if you got a good product, people come. People will find you, but if you got a good product and you care about the kids and you can reach the kids, people will come.
Now, my last question for you. You've achieved a lot as a Cedar Shoals graduate, UGA graduate, and overall as an Athens native. You were even honored by being placed in the Cedar Shoals Hall of Fame. Overall, how much does this school mean to you and your legacy on its 50th anniversary?
It means a great deal. This is me, orange and blue. Like, this is me. I love where I come from. Make no mistake about it. This gym allowed me to see the world. This platform, along with Coach Scott, that poured so much into me as a young kid playing the game. Will Jones that poured so much into me playing the game. To follow some of the greats that came through here, the Zach Richardsons, the Buddy Strongs, the Shelton. It's just tons of guys that I followed, and I hope I was able to make them proud, make Cedar Shoals proud, and make the community proud of what I did. And I think out of all of that, everything I did on the court, I hope I represented them good by never being in any trouble, ever. I've never been in a courtroom ever in my life for trouble. I've never been in the back of a police car. I never had any problems, so I hope I carried their name further, Cedar Shoals further than Athens, and I hope I represented it well. I feel like I did, but again, this place here is home for me. It means a great deal. I'm honored to be even mentioned as a part of their 50th anniversary. I think they got great things to come. I think it's going to be a ton of great players come through here. A ton came after me, a ton came before me. I just know this place built me. I've got so many hours in here, like working on my game before I was a blink on the radar. This is where it began. You know what I mean? So it's special to me. It's special to me. Like my mom walked in and she was like, "Oh man, I feel it, but it looks a little different." For me, it feels the same. Like I don't see anything but the court because I never sat in the stands. You know what I mean? So I don't feel nothing but this. And I mean, it's crazy that, you know, after 92, so what's that, 30 years? Oh man, a long time. But it's everything to me. And I want to begin to be more involved with their athletic program, specifically basketball. I feel like that in some way, because Drico does a great job. Let me say that, Drico does a great job. But I want to be more involved, and I think now me not coaching in the area, running my foundation, I could begin to give back to my alma mater, which is Cedar Shoals. And so to ask what it means the world to me. I want nothing but great things for this place and for the school, for these athletic teams, all of them. And it would mean the world to me to be able to help more. And it means a lot to me that you even thought of me to do this docu.
That should do it.